I would like to call Mr. Srikanth for sharing a few words with the audience. Welcome, sir.
A little more energy. Good morning. Yeah, that's the way. I'm a proud UVCEN. ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬ UVCEಯ ಹೆಮ್ಮೆಯ ಹುಡುಗ. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. The biggest honor, I was just telling, is to be felicitated by my teacher, Professor K.R. Venugopal. He taught us in my first year and second year in 89 and 90. And it's wonderful to see so many of my batchmates, couple of seniors and couple of juniors sitting here. Every time I come, I feel so invigorated to be part of this esteemed institution. Over the course of next 15 minutes when I speak and I finish, all that I want, each and every one of you passing out of this hallowed portals of UVCE to feel the same energy, feel the same affinity for this institution that makes me feel so proud. The reason is this. If I had to speak about UVCE, it's not like I have to go back 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I have to go almost 130 years. That's where I'm going to start. It's about a small storytelling. Please bear with me. I hope at the end of this 130-year journey, you realize as to how privileged you are to be part of this legacy. It was in late 1880s and late 1890s that South India saw one of the biggest famines in the world. More than 5 million people died just in the South India. It was at that period that Krishnarajendra Wadiyar and his mother, Ammani, made a promise saying that the kids and the people of Mysore state will never go hungry again. So in the late 1890s, almost 1895 to 1899, they put up so much of programs. Two major projects that they embarked on. One was irrigation related, second one was railways related. By the time they came to 1905, 1906, Our Highness Krishnaraja Wadiyar, Nalvadi Krishnarajendra Wadiyar had an amazing Diwan, Sir M. Vishweshwaraya under him. What they realized was, all these very complex engineering projects needs engineers. They needed very, very highly qualified engineers to execute these projects in Mysore state. At that point of time, in Mysore state, we did not have an engineering college. Only 2-3 engineering colleges that were there closest to Mysore state was Pune and Chennai. Between the two engineering colleges, they promised Sir M.V. that we can provide you with 2 seats for Mysore state. And Mysore state needed 6 engineers to execute the projects. One, which was already on the anvil, which was KRS. Other was quite a lot of railway projects that are happening between Mysore and Bangalore. So, Sir M.V. said, Mysore state needs a minimum of 6. If Pune and Chennai cannot accommodate Mysore students, this state is good enough, has the power, has the will to start its own engineering college. And that's how the first engineering college in Karnataka, the 5th in the country, Vishweshwaraya College of Engineering, got started in 1917. That is to ensure that we have highly qualified engineers to come out of this institute to execute very critical projects that the nation had embarked on. Now, college did not start overnight. This idea which came up in 1909 and 1910 started off as a School of Engineering in 1913 in the same premises. This School of Engineering, you will be very surprised, there was an amazing person whom Vishweshwaraya convinced to come back from London and move to Bangalore to be the superintendent of this school. S.R. Shetty or Subbaraya Shetty from Mysore. You may not know him, but every time you see all those aeroplanes that flew in the First World War, he was part of the design of Avro engine that went into the First World War aeroplanes. He is from our Mysore state and Mysore. This man came here and he was the first superintendent. Unfortunately, he died of TB at a very young age of 37 by 1917. By 1917, this college started as a college of engineering and Professor Keshwachar became the first principal. And the first batch passed out in 1921. That's 100 years ago, about the same time as you are passing out. This is the reason why you are so very special. You are the centurions, okay? If you see a century being hit in cricket, you laud so loudly and you actually applaud so loudly. The Centenary students who are passing out, I think, deserve a much bigger round of applause. Now, if you look at this, 1921 to 2021, it's been an amazing journey. Some of you may have been aware, some of you may not be aware, but I would like to walk you through the legacy and also the legends of this university. You will be surprised to know that this is the only engineering college which has produced the second highest civilian award, Padma Vibhushan, 3 of them. 1 Padma Bhushan, 3 Padma Shris. I'm pretty sure that you may not be aware. There's one alumni of this college who is part of Nobel Prize winning committee. That's the kind of college that you are all passing out from. The students who passed out in 1921 to 1925, do you know what their practicals were and where they actually worked on practicals? Straight away they went to KRS. Straight away they went to Shivanasamudra power project. And that was the time they realized the only electrical engineers could come from where they had graduated from in England or London. So the whole of Asia did not have a single electrical engineering department. So suddenly we said we should have our own electrical engineering department because Shivanasamudra cannot be run by an engineer who is passing out from London. So the first electrical engineering department in whole of Asia started in this college. You'll be very surprised to know that many of our grandparents are from that, and some of the parents are from that first few batches of UVCE. So, now it's not just about passing out. Once we cross 1930s, if you go and look into one of the albums, you will see that UVCE, the KR circle, you would have heard a lot of noise. I was part of this class. We used to hear a lot of traffic. There was also a lot of traffic and noise in 1940s. And one of the noise that got created was Quit India movement. In Quit India movement, there is a very iconic photograph of UVCE where a march of about couple of thousand people in KR circle is happening and in the backdrop is UVCE. Under those circumstances, a young person who was doing his third year engineering just left the classroom, joined Quit India movement, he got jailed for 9 months, came back and finished his engineering, went on to become brigadier in Indian Army, Brigadier H.R. Gopal. And he passed out in 1946. Brigadier H.R. Gopal is an alumni of UVCE. Later on, between 1946 and 1960s, the kind of people who passed out made so much of difference to the world. Before I speak about the difference that they made to the world, one of the things that suddenly a book that he wrote was Building the Nation. When you get a chance, each and every engineer who is passing out here today should read this book. Because he said, engineer, primary responsibility is to build the nation. Primary responsibility is towards the society. That's what he said. Now let's take the examples of how alumni of UVCE has been part of building the nation. You go and touch any irrigation project in the country in the last 100 years, across the country, a UVCE signature is there on that irrigation project, be it in Assam, be it in Bihar, UP, or in Punjab. Forget about South India. Everything has been, a UVCE engineer has been part. That's the kind of civil engineering students who came up, passed out of this college, made a difference. Bhakra Nangal Dam, Hirakud, the kind of large projects that happen across Krishna, all those, the chief engineers of those projects were all headed by UVCE. You may not be aware, but that's the kind of massive projects that UVCE engineers took part in making it happen. The town hall that you see, the chief engineer was from UVCE. The kind of things that the people made happen was not limited to just the civil engineering, the irrigation projects, or the buildings. The thermal power plants, the nuclear power plants, the hydel projects that happened across the country were all headed by UVCEans between 1950s and 70s. That was the time this country, which had just got freedom, was part of building its infrastructure. UVCE engineers made such a big contribution in building that infrastructure, to the extent the people who made so much of sacrifice to make all this infrastructure happen were duly recognized. The kind of recognition that happened was to Dr. M.R. Srinivasan. He got Padma Vibhushan because he is responsible for all the 17 nuclear power plants to come up in India, out of which 10 are already in production. 7 are in the pipeline. And this, he saw the need talking to Homije Baba in 1960s. So that's the thermal nuclear thing. One of the things that we always had in history has been on the agro engine that I just spoke of, right? Avionics and aeronautical engineering has always been amazing for us, right from 1908, when Subrai Shetty actually paved the way. And you know who is considered one of the greatest aeronautical engineer that India has ever produced? Professor Radham Narasimha. He is from UVCE, mechanical engineering. Probably he is one of the few people from UVCE who work with more than like 18 or 19 Nobel laureates. The kind of impact that he had on the avionics industry and aeronautical engineering in the country and abroad made him one of the leading architects of the whole of aeronautics worldwide. The thing is, obviously he got recognized with Padma Vibhushan. But the thing that started coming out was, because of all the momentum that got built in the late 50s, was the kind of impetus that we got into going from avionics into some of the rocket technologies that happened. India in 1960s and 70s wanted to be very self-reliant on a lot of rockets and technologies and missiles. So in the late 70s, when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi saw the need, she said we have to have our own missile program. And at the right time was Dr. Kalam. You'll be surprised, there were 5 missile programs that got initiated at that point of time. Prithvi, Akash, Agni, Trishul, and the 5th one I'm forgetting. Out of these 5, 3 were headed by UVCEans. Prithvi, Akash, Agni, all 3 of them got executed within the schedule and in less money than what was projected. Isn't it amazing? 3 of the missile programs that got done, and all 3 of them are in Bangalore today. Lieutenant General Dr. V.J. Sundaram, Prahalad Rao, and Prahallada. See, this is the missile technology that was done. And today, apart from BrahMos, one of the largest exporting missiles today is Akash and Agni, which we are exporting. See, these were all conceived, executed, and handed over to large-scale manufacturing, and all those things were headed by UVCEs. Now, if we speak about from there, how did we do on rest of the things around the space technology? You go into ISRO, UVCE, you will see almost rank and file of each of the departments is headed by a UVCE. The best that I can think of at this point of time is Mrs. Anuradha TK. She is the first woman project director in ISRO. She recently retired, and she is from mechanical engineering. When I speak of women, I think you should all be very proud, all the ladies here and the gents, because all of you should cheer for this. UVCE produced the two of the earliest lady engineers in the country, and they came from this college. It's not often that you see that kind of a vision being actually getting executed to. I'm just still in 1960s. The 1960s to 70s, we ended up seeing many of the folks moving from the traditional, the services, government jobs, to moving into some of the private organizations, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So, many of us are doing exceedingly well in multinational companies. Some of them started their own companies. Some of them headed multinational companies, not just, when I say headed, not in the middle or senior management. They were the heads. The buck stopped with them. B.V. Jagdish, U.V. Rao, and Lakshmi Narayan are some of them that I can just think of. So that's just few of the people. Professor B.M. Rajprakash already spoke about the kind of companies that are hiring. You should also realize that apart from being hired here in placement, people actually also move from one company to another company. You go and see any private company in the country or any multinational, you will see a UVCE. And you won't believe, I'm pretty sure that you will all follow Kannada. One of the things that happened when I went to Portland in 98 was, hey, you're not in UVCE now. And this continues even today. And that's the affinity that we have for this college. We should all be very proud, because UVCE has not just produced amazing people in the professional world. Right from 50s and 60s, you have people who have excelled in areas beyond education and in professional world. Many of you will be familiar, especially some of the I don't want to call as older generation, because we all feel that we are very young, slightly a couple of months older to all those people there. But still, I would like to say this, okay? Vijay Bhaskar, Mano Murthy, you may not be aware, but we are all very familiar with them. They are all from UVCE. Ramesh Arvind is from UVCE. But what you don't realize is, Rupa Pai, who is one of the best-selling authors in the country, she has sold a few million books which she has written, is from UVCE. Shankar Vedantam, who is a chief editor for Washington Post and National Geographic, is from UVCE, and they're all from my batch, or 1 year junior or 1 year senior. There can't be nothing more happier than that. Junaid, who is from 2009 batch, is from UVCE. These are the people who have excelled amazingly in field other than the professional world. In the sports, two people who stand out are Arvind Bhatt. He was world ranked 7 in badminton, and he is from UVCE. Meghna Narayan, she is a national champion in swimming, went on to get a Rhodes Scholarship, then she did her PhD from Wharton, MBA from Wharton, and she is one of the leading venture capital and entrepreneurs in US. She is from UVCE. And if you see, the last thing I want to end up with is, I spoke about 3 different streams, professional, and also in terms of looking at how we have done outside of professional. But the biggest thing that we have also contributed is in academics. You will not see many colleges wherein the faculty here passing out from UVC coming back. And that's one of the biggest things that you will end up seeing, because they have this affinity to come back and teach. The second thing is, you look at the biggest of the universities in the world, you will see many of them heading it, being the pro-chancellor. We have our own vice-chancellor who is a 1982 batch. Hello sir, 79. I made him 3 years younger, okay? So, so what we end up seeing is from Yale, MIT, Urbana-Champaign, as well as New Mexico University, all of them had their professor emeritus and chairman as UVC alumni has been part of it. IIT Roorkee, when it was just called Roorkee Institute, the chancellor was from UVC. IIT Madras, Professor Natarajan, who was retired as director, is from UVC. I can go on and on. The reason I told you all these things is, I want each of you who is wearing this black gown and graduating, when you stand here 25 years from today, 50 years from today, I want you to carry on this legacy and say that we are proud of being an UVC alumni. We will carry the torch. We will make sure that every time I speak, I wear my UVC logo on my chest and say that I'm a proud UVCian. The reason is this. A college, the biggest thing that it has is the students who pass out. The brand ambassadors of the college is not the faculty, is not the university administration. It is the students who are passing out who will go and speak as to how great your friends were and what the difference that you end up making to the society. That is what is brand building for the college is going to be. And I want you to take up this vow today, saying that when we pass out, you have passed out, some of you, and some of you are passing out, take a pledge. Take a pledge that we'll come back, contribute to this society, contribute to this college, and be part of a vibrant alumni community. There is a whole lot of things that we are doing, especially with the college becoming autonomous. There is a huge responsibility on the alumni. We all need to take very active part in engaging with faculty, engaging with industry, engaging with academia, and being part of it to make sure that this is one of the leading institutions in the next 10 to 20 years. Because our goal is to ensure that we are the best. There is nothing short of that. We are the best because we have been the best, you are the best, and we can make it the best as we continue to do that. Jai Hind.